Welcome to AECO Tech Talk, the podcast that explores the intersection of technology, innovation, and the built environment. We'd like to thank our sponsor, AECO Digitech, expert consultation for digital transformation. And now, here is your host, Dr. Johnny Fortune.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. We have such a treat today. I'm so excited to be joined by my good friend, Robert L. Brown. Robert, welcome to the show. Take a few minutes to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, where you're from, what's going on.
First off, like I said, I am happy to be with the Johnny Fortune. I hope everybody understand that. And God, we give each other such a hard time, don't we?
It's one of the more enjoyable things of my day when I get to talk to you. But yes,
I'm Robert Brown. It's funny, my career is kind of crazy. I 30 years plus survey guy, ended up in 2016-17. I was carrying a box of school supplies, and my VP said, "You taking over a BIM program?" Didn't know what it was, but I did it. I was voluntold, so I did it. Here we are in 2026. I haven't looked back, so just man, full-blown construction, oil and gas, aviation, man, it's kind of a jack of all trades. So really enjoy being here talking shop. Hopefully we're going to enjoy this one today.
Yeah, for sure. I know many people know you. For those that don't, you work at an undisclosed location, a major airport in the southern part of the U.S., and we'll leave it at that.
Huge.
Yeah, massive. So it's just always I've seen a lot of presentations from you. It's always really impressive, like the information that you have shared and we've talked about over time. Just massive scale, very, very complicated, very complex. And then, your work that you've been able to work through over the years with the digital twin and coordinating a lot of BIM requirements, BIM deliverables. It's just really, really impressive. And I just want to give our audience a heads up. Sometimes, Robert, you sneak in there and you act like you're just like an everyday layman kind of guy, but you are really one of the most intelligent people I know. And you're just very practical. You hands-on. You've worked through so much. Just incredible experience. And so I don't want you to be fooling our audience, man, thinking that, you don't, sometimes you just sound like just everyday worker, but man, you are really a pioneer in our field, man. I really appreciate your perspective.
It's funny. You say that. I remember you busted me about that a few years ago, and ever since then I was like, I can't put nothing past him, so I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and show what I know here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we always like to kick off our show, Robert, with something interesting, fun, interesting fact or something about yourself. So we like to ask the guest, tell us something that's, probably not on your LinkedIn profile. People may not necessarily know about you. Share something with us here.
I'll tell you something funny that people don't understand. Old heads like ourselves, they know about, I actually played on the Friday Night Lights team. Actually have a podcast with some of my buddies, but I was on that team, and I was the strong side receiver and the strong safety. So that's a fun fact. A lot of people, they look at me now and I'm like, the 4.4, 4.3 speed, that's like long gone.
Right. For some of us, we never had that speed, by the way. So at least you got to experience it. Yeah, I'm going to have to get on a bike to go that fast for any point in my life.
For fun time.
Yeah, that's great. So was that in the state of Texas, or was that your home state of Louisiana? Louisiana, right? Home state?
No, that was in Odessa, Texas. So that's the Mojo brand there.
All right. Now, are you originally from Louisiana?
That's where my family, that's kind of a long story.
Okay.
All my family.
Sorry, I asked already. I apologize.
Well, I can make it sure, all of my family's from there. Then all of a sudden, my dad moved to Odessa, and then that's where I'm born. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, definitely quite an achievement in the state of Texas on
Yeah,
the Friday Night Lights team. That's you.
yeah.
You had to been pretty decent. We won't talk about my 1 year football career in high school, but definitely I will limit it to this: that I was kind of bigger than most of the kids, so I got stuck on the line and like I was bored out of my skull, just like, is it a run or a pass? That's all I needed to know. Just to know how to block. That was it. Okay. Anyway, I'll stop there. But yeah, we've had some great conversations over Tom, and you have definitely an owner perspective, and we've talked a lot of BIM, VDC, uh, digital twins. I guess it's kind of all wrapped up in some project digital delivery, which we hear a lot about these days. Everything kind of gets under this umbrella of digital delivery or project digital delivery. A few varying terms, but we had some. When I was leading the National BIM program, we had a group called the Owner Leadership, and you were involved in that and came to some of those meetings, gave a lot of great insight. I think I really got to know you a little bit better when we went to a workshop up at Penn State University with our mutual friend John Messner and Zara Garbani and several others. Other industry representatives were there as well, and we were able to work through like what a digital twin really looks like from different perspectives, from those who are service providers as well as owner perspective. And that's when I really began to appreciate like your perspective even more so, because as we went through that workshop, yeah, I'm hearing things that I just never heard before about some of the things that an owner needs and the owner goes through, and I just thought it'd be very interesting just to kind of revisit a little bit of that. And I'm sorry if it brings up some pain points for you as well, but I want to hear your perspective. Like over the years, I know one thing you've said to me is a lot of people come out and say they have a digital twin solution and that they've had it for X number of years, and you comically say, well, you didn't have it when I was looking for it. We kind of had to build our own homegrown solutions. So talk a little bit about that, your experience.
That's funny. That was that 2017, 2018. One of my EVPs was like, "Hey, he's in the Sim City. Go build me a digital twin." And I'm like, "What is that?" I mean, so you took me from surveying to BIM, and now you're talking digital twin. I'm like, dude, what is this? But nevertheless, when that level tell you to do something, I mean, I got grown man bills, Johnny. I don't know about you, but you gotta go do the work.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so I was tasked with that, and as I dug into that and started to discover, um, there was no platform. I asked Autodesk, we had a contract with them. I asked Autodesk, I was like, man, you guys know anything about this? Nobody.
Hmm.
Bentley was in their beginning stages of their iTwin, but I mean that we really didn't have a contract with them, a vessel with them at the time. So you're going to laugh about this. We ended up using a piecemeal GIS and Autodesk InfoWorks for our first iteration of a digital twin. That ain't the part that makes me get all up in arms.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. It doesn't sound like the easiest
No,
Frankenstein effort, right? But
yeah.
yeah, so you pieced different things together to just get what you needed. Yeah.
But here's that funny part, Johnny. So we get into COVID and the terminals are empty. And they were like, hey, we want to do a digital twin of a terminal. And I said, cool, nobody's in there. We can go in there and scan it and get it done. That's not how it worked. They waited till the people got back.
Right.
And then they were like, okay, here's your money. So we went out and did a scan and build of a terminal. And they were like, man, we need a platform. Johnny, I kid you not, I don't make this up. We were getting on that RFP, we were getting people that have said, man, we've been doing digital twins for 20, 30 years, and man, we've been having platforms. I'm like, where were y'all? I mean, I had money to give
Yeah.
you, and nobody showed up. But now all of a sudden, everybody has a platform, and I don't even want to tell you how many people now in 2026 of a sudden a digital twin gurus or SMEs, which me and you gonna have to talk about that SME designation because I want to know how some of these people achieve that.
Yeah. Yeah, they just string three letters together, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's very subjective. But that's interesting. So the original idea came out of you had this picture of Sim City in your mind, and like this is what leadership wants, and how do I produce it? Yeah, and it's. I would imagine an empty terminal would have been a lot easier to scan. I'm sure, with people in the terminal, all my reality capture friends are like, oh yeah, that's a lot of post processing, a lot of things to try to take out and get to what you need. So that's interesting. So you're combining. Talk about some of the sensor data because it's always interesting to me when I've heard you talk about this in the past that it's digital twin for a particular use or particular purpose. But you being in the state of Texas, it gets pretty hot, and there's some key indicators you guys need to track. So you can talk about some of those sensors you
Oh
needed to tie
man,
in.
I see where you're taking this. I see where you're taking this one, and you're you're bringing up some points that you've known are pain points for me because a lot of people put digital twins up and they have these pretty pictures. And when I talk to them, I always say, bad data can still give you a very pretty picture. Okay. And
Yeah.
they're wanting insights. They want a lot of information. When you start to dig, and start to poke the bear a little bit and kind of find out what it is they're wanting, they haven't had any data, streaming data, for multiple years or some to devise a normalization of the season of how do we need what temperature do we need to set our ACs to run efficiently. If you don't have multiple seasons where you normalize that data, it's hard to normalize. If I have 8 chillers during this time period, I only need 4 that can give us some operational efficiency. So you got all of those type of things that you're trying to devise from data, which is what a digital twin or something. I hate to say this, but I'm gonna just say it. But those single source of truth, that single point of data, is where I can take data from all different software platforms or IoTs or whatever, IoT, CMMS, all of the alphabet soup, and I can bring that in, and we can bring that in and stream it, and we can start to get some data. But here's something I want to caveat before that, Johnny. If you hadn't gone out and don't have a true representation of what assets you have, what are their data commission, and what's their preventive maintenance plan, what's your framework of your asset information system? How can you have a digital twin if you don't have you don't have a asset framework, you don't have any principles of a digital twin, whether it's push and pull in data. You don't have any of those, but you got a digital twin and you're spending $2-3 million on that, not knowing that the true labor from that is actually about to drive you up to that $20-30 million.
Yeah. Right.
That if you hadn't considered all the things that build a digital twin that is expected, there's going to be some failure points in there. And guess what? Sometimes those failure points in that realm are hard to identify because you haven't aligned the data to show you those points of failure.
Yeah. That's a really interesting and key point I think you're bringing out there is because in many conversations over the years, a lot of times, dealing with owners or owner groups, and they may not know exactly what they want, and so the default answer is just give us everything.
Yeah.
And I think you're bringing out the real point that like everything is not necessarily usable. In fact, you're inundated with so much data, and in some of it's not quality data that it's like you don't trust the data that you do have, right? You begin to second guess everything. So it's really more about identifying what assets you want to track, what are the measurements that are important to you, and then making sure that data is of high quality. It is correct, it's dependable, it's transferable from one system to another. What all the characteristics that make data high quality. But it sounds like it's something that you have wrestled with and realized, okay, we don't need just more. We don't need more. We need better.
And I'll tell you this, like I say, I started 2016 with this, and we had a BIM manual at the time. And I can tell you last time I talked to you, we was on our 5th iteration. We're already started on our 6th because of lessons learned, the things that we've discovered from some capital development programs, from some civil things we're doing, from some one-off facilities that tie into those. So we've learned some things that forced us to be on our 6th iteration. Not to mention, it's not just that you have to change. You have to change design criteria. You have to change Division 1 specs. You got to go holistically change things. You got to go visit with the operation and maintenance people, the CMMS. What parameters are you guys taking into your system? Because I could actually be requiring more than you need. So if you go visit with the people that's maintaining, who's got that roughly 80% of that asset, you may have been getting way more than what they're wanting for their
Yeah, yeah.
And so you've been essentially wasting your ownership's money on stuff
Right.
that y'all could have spent a lot less time on doing stuff.
Yeah, that's a big undertaking. I don't know if you've heard of this group, AECO Digitech, but I hear that they do excellent work
And I heard
on updating standards and technical requirements. Shameless plug moment. But so to talk about some of this. So you mentioned your manual. You are you still like kind of working from? Again, I'm going to call it a Frankenstein system when you have to patch things together to make them work. But like, how has your system evolved over the last decade?
we still have struggles, Johnny. Even though we're on our 6th, there is a certain deal that's called asset handover. And guess what? We still have some struggles at asset handover. Even though we're working beyond the realm of BIM into the digital twin arena towards the functional information management, things like that. With that end in sight at the beginning, we're still struggling because there's still some smaller subcontractors who don't know how to adhere to that, who still are not Revit or Civil 3D or Bentley MicroStation. They're still not versed in those things. They know how to build.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know how to build, but being able to take what they're seeing, and create something in the virtual world, that's still a little bit of a struggle. Now, here's something that's going to make you laugh. A lot of them would rather forego that duty financially and just say, hey, you take care of it. Now, that's a different podcast in itself because people don't understand with them giving you that, it's harder on you because you got to go do a lot of research to find out what actually happened. So it's a lot in the digital delivery, this ownership and this digital twin, all of this transformative stuff is not easy as people think.
Yeah, you're also hitting on one of my least favorite topics, procurement, which is I know some people love it, some people don't. But yeah, it's interesting that I can imagine you have, I don't know, like what type of small business contracting requirements you have, subcontracting requirements, all of those pieces when a project goes out for bid or for a request for proposals and the kind of results you get. I'm sure there's a lot of vetting that you have to do because it's not just about like building or remodeling the terminal anymore, right? It's about collecting the information and being quality and getting to you. So I can imagine that's a struggle. And then when you work with all different type of service providers and vendors, like somebody still has to be the cook in the kitchen to get all of those ingredients together to make it something meaningful.
Yep. So I mean, it's like I say, we're getting better. We're getting better. I can honestly say on runways and stuff like that, our part at the asset handover and at the commissioning part, we're pretty good at right at that time being almost finished with ours. But as you know, there's still work being done that makes those true record models and all of that still kind of in limbo. But we're getting better. Getting better.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on another key point for project teams is that it's not like you're just going to implement a digital twin strategy and you do it this year and then you just we have it now and we're just going to maintain that system. Like these technologies are evolving rather quickly. It's very complicated, right? And you have the complication of you don't always have the same service providers. You don't always get the same quality of data. You don't get always data in the same format, right? There's a lot of stuff to pull together. Interoperability is, even after all these years, we've been talking about it for years, right? It's still a hot topic of concern for people. But I think you're really highlighting a point for owners is that, a digital twin strategy is not a 1 year thing. Like it's not even probably a 3 to 5 year thing. It is like, we're in it for the long haul and we should go into it knowing that we're going to have iterations. Like with the new technologies, with the advent of AI and implementation there, this is going to be a continuous improvement.
Yeah. I always give an analogy that if you're an Olympic athlete, right? You work out 4 years and they only got 3 spots, first, second, and third. The people that get on the top of that stand work hard. They work hard. They do things people don't do to their body, to their performance. They do things that ensure they can get there. A lot of people ain't willing to do that, Johnny. Same thing on the digital twin. You got SaaS calls, you got assessments, you got a lot of things to do. And a lot of people, when that finally hit, man, they're not willing to go that far.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not marketed that way. It is like many times it's marketed as, here's your one-stop shop. It's easy. Here's a solution. But I mean, the reality is, like, if it's really going to be of value to your organization, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take some work. It's going to take someone like yourself who's willing to dive into that and make it happen. There are very few, what I would say, turnkey solutions, for digital twins. I mean, there's a lot of solutions out there. And maybe it does 80% of what you need, or maybe it does 90% of what you need, but it's that's the problem organizations are facing, is that their tech stack has grown and become more complicated because they go after these packaged solutions and they don't quite do everything they need. And so they end up, the patchwork of putting these things together, and they end up with multiple solutions, and then they run into the interoperability issues sometimes, where again they're trying to make one service or software or platform talk to another and then share the data, and it's a lot to keep up with. Robert, I'm curious, like what are the biggest pain points that you see right now? I mean, you've been at this for a decade or more. And you've seen a lot, and I really, really appreciate your perspective, because you're not just one who talks about it. you in your role, you've had to make it work, right? Yeah. You've had to answer to leadership who's wanted these things, and you've had to come up with solutions, sometimes on your own, with the help of different folks across the industry, I'm sure. What's the biggest pain points of today?
Let's say if somebody was brand new, okay? Somebody was brand new, and because this is answered in a few different ways. So you talked about some of the turnkey solutions, some of the platforms, okay? You have to decide, Are you wanting to have it in-house and you build everything from that point, which there's still a cost, but you're not, you have a little bit more control of the data. You have a lot of the integrations. You're responsible. All the development, you're responsible. So that's one solution. The next solution is I hire somebody to configure a platform and to do it for you. Now, a little bit less control, um, more costs up because it's contracted out. So you have to make a decision from right there on how are we going to do that. And then you got to see whichever way you go, do we have the qualified people to QA, QC, either which way you go, because that's
Yeah.
part of it. So that's one. The next part is you got to make a decision, depending on your organization, how much of that organization do you want to hit in the twin? Because if you're just wanting to do the operation and maintenance part, then you know what, you can get there. But what about if we start wanting to have financial data, have whatever type of data in there? Okay, those are the type of things that we can bring in, that you need to make a decision on how granular you want to go in your digital twin. And that's a pain point because that decision is going to make you have to talk to so many people that it's going to delay your decisions to proceed with the digital twin.
Yeah. Yeah, classic build or buy, right? Is kind of determining that. I think another thing I'm hearing from you as you're talking about this is just the importance of having a strategy. We talked a little bit about that, about knowing what assets you want to track and what information, what sensors are really important to feed into this. But just really having an overall strategy. And here's what happens what I feel I hear from different groups. One group is, let's just get started, right? They may not have much of a strategy. Let's just get started. Sometimes that can be pretty expensive, right? Because you start going down paths and it's more trial and error. And, I don't think personally that's not my favorite path to go down, of trial and error. But that gives you a sense of you're accomplishing something, but you're really not kind of keeping tabs on how much you're spending to do that, or how efficient those decisions are. And then on the other end of the spectrum is those who want to continually workshop it, retreat, go on a strategy retreat, spend 3 days in the mountains trying to develop, right? And it just almost never ends. You just never get to implementing it because you're staying so much on the strategic level. And I really feel like a plan, a strategy that's developed, is probably going to be 80% there. I'm a firm believer in the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. I've seen it play out so much in our industry and in life in general. Is like, yes, you need the planning, you need the strategy, you need to get those things kind of nailed down, but it also doesn't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be fully comprehensive to where you spend 80% of your time working on that last 20% of your strategy. At some point, it's like, it's good enough to get started, and it's better than getting started without nothing, and it's also better than being paralysis by analysis, right? So I think it's important. You're bringing up some really good points. Yeah, go ahead.
I got something funny for you. I was talking to a guy.
I never question whether or not you have something funny for me, because I appreciate your humor. So
Talked to a guy, and he was just like, man, Robert, the project lifecycle management. And then he was talking about assets, and I said, we're not talking about the same thing. Do you know what that is? I said, you do know project lifecycle, man. That's the project that stops at asset handover. I said, are you talking about the project asset lifecycle? Well, you know what I mean. You always trying to make. I'm like, I said, dude, I'm not trying to make this bad, but you have to know who you're speaking to, because a lot of people in project management, stuff like that, when that project hits asset handover, dude, they're gone.
Yeah, right. The project is done for them, and as the owner, you live with the project.
Yeah. So those are some things, Johnny. Like you said, it's the little things that people have to understand on how, if you're a contractor coming in, how we can have a conversation. Because once I get past asset handover, your gateways don't mean anything to me.
Yeah, right, right. Once it's in your possession and you're managing it, it's yours. Right. Now, that's a very good point. And I do think that's one of the things that's been a challenge for the industry as a whole, not just in terms of digital twins and, the broader digital project digital delivery, is that, we have stakeholders in all the projects, and some of their interests are limited, right? They're limited for a particular phase. They're limited for a particular discipline, a specific duration, and I really think you know me. I think very altruistically about the industry, a lot, but it's really difficult to get the right outcome when you have stakeholders that may have blinders on, and they're looking at this is my small slice of this project. And they're trying to do their work. They're trying to get on to the next project. And I understand that that's the way that the business runs. It's not always conducive to getting the owner what they want or what they need, right? And I think, the organizations, the service providers, the vendors, if you're in business to make money, right? So they still need to make money. They still need to be successful in business. Otherwise, we all just go fishing, right? And hopefully we catch something. But we do have to think beyond, just finishing this project, handing over the data, and we have to, even though we may not be involved in the project after that, right? Our project is for a set time, a duration, scope, schedule, budget. We still have to think about performing in a way that is going to enable that asset management long after we have moved on to many other projects.
Yep.
And what I'm hearing from you is, from an owner perspective, you really appreciate that, right? Is when people can keep that in mind and deliver not only a built building, but quality data that you're going to be able to use for the foreseeable future.
That's first and foremost. That is, and I know the way we do it here is throughout that project, from the business case, we're involved. We're involved all the way through. Even if there's a renovation or whatever, we're going to hand you that from my team, and so that we can get that back, so you have more control over as-built and the renovation, making sure things stay up to date, so that so that your twin can stay relevant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of workflows, a lot of things, Johnny, that has to be in place. Heck, you have to even do workshops with your sub,
Yeah.
so that why am I just gonna hand you a standard and I'm not going to work with you? That's bad business.
Yeah. So tell me what that looks like. Is there, without necessarily going into the inner workings of your specific location, but what does that look like to you? Is workshops with the subs, is that something they know is going to happen, like when they bid on the project, or is it like it just comes later? It's like, look, here's our standards, and we're providing a workshop for you to understand what we're asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once we get them at that kickoff, once we get to our kickoff meeting, that's where we kind of fact find. Hey, look, this is how we want to do this. Here's a cadence. Make sure your subs on. They need any help? Is there something they're not understanding? Do we need to have a lunch and learn? Whatever. But we want to make sure that we position ourselves as we are here to help. We're not here to just hand you 100-page document or whatever it is we are currently. I'm not here to just give you some additional reading material. I am here to help you, guide you through what that is, so that we can get a good product back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is really, really quite interesting. So when someone is, pursuing work, do they see or understand your BIM requirements? Are those like ready? Is that part of the package that they understand? They have to they have to deliver this when they're signing up for it. It's just that I guess it's so complicated or so expansive, rather, maybe a better way to say it, that they do need a lot of help along once they start on the project.
Can I tell you it depends on the method, because if it's a design bid build, we may design that sucker and it may be a year, 2 years. And the design I was messing with may have been on a 2022 version. Now we're at 2024 per se, that I'm wanting the construction folks to use. So you got it. It depends on the system. A design build, where they taking it from zero on up, a little bit different. So to answer your question, yes, but I did want to make sure that people understand. Depends on the delivery system that you're working on how that is effective.
Yeah.
And I do want to, I know I said about 2020 standards or whatever, but there's another, one last caveat is a lot of design build projects in aviation, on some of those 2-year projects, even though I may have changed my standards on a design build, I can't change it with that person to the next project. So there's a lot of things, Johnny, to consider, but that's what.
Yeah, I know that's a big challenge, right? Is that, because you're talking about it's not a project that's going to be in like 6 months. You've got requirements when they, once they come on board, and those are the requirements that they're operating by for, potentially several years, however long the project, duration is. So that's great. I appreciate you sharing some pain points and some of that process. What are you finding most optimistic right now? Like, what are the things like, man, I'm really looking forward to this piece. Is it something related to AI, or is it, some changes that are happening? What do you see on the horizon? It's like, oh, this is really looking interesting to me.
It's funny you bring that up. I just got back from an AI symposium, and there's a lot of things where AI is starting to make itself into the AECO industry, and it's starting to be more effective, and people are taking time to work with it and let it learn what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to hoping that if we have a CMMS system with a series of assets, if my team goes out and does a field collection of that, and it's in, say, ACC in their asset portal, and then I'm wanting something where when we bring those two together, plus our BAS system, our build and automated system, I'm wanting something where we can bring all of that data in, and I can prompt it, give me the comparisons. Because if everything is based off of an asset ID, if I got two, my field and my CMMS agree with that, but my BAS is a little bit different, help me find the differences and make sure that those datas are the same. So I'm hoping AI help us lessen some of the analytics and things that we're having to do that are time-consuming manual processes.
Yeah. Just had a thought, because I'm kind of hearing from other industry professionals who've not yet experienced very much AI, and they're like, "Oh, well, we just tell it what we want, throw it down there, just going to spit it out." Do you think that's going to be very successful for digital twins and data analysis for a major operation?
No.
Is that what you're doing, Robert? That's what you're doing? You just put it in.
I just threw it in there. I mean, no rhyme or reason. Hey, just give me something.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, Johnny. I mean, that's what gives people a bad warm fuzzy about AI.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
And it also makes people think, oh, we can just replace people. you still going to have to. I always say AI is an optimization of the data. It's not a
Yeah.
get rid of. It's helping us optimize. You still gonna have to look at that data.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's my experience, and I work with AI every day. But my experience is it kind of has a way of enhancing whatever's already there, right? And so if you're very knowledgeable about digital twins, it's going to be a great asset to you to help you streamline, some data analysis. If you are if you know nothing about legal, don't rely on
Right.
to develop a legal report for you, right? So because you can't tell if it's right or if it's wrong. You can't really tell, right? If you don't know, it kind of enhances the knowledge you already have, the knowledge that's there. So great perspective. So as we begin to wrap up here, Robert, what are let me just ask you, man. Like again, you've had some experience with it, practical experience, some trial and error, some strategic development, some standards updates. You've done so much. If you were to like the 20-second elevator ride, somebody asked you for your advice, kind of in this whole project, digital delivery, digital twin aspect. What would you tell them?
Don't try to put the cart before the horse. Do not try to get everything in 1 year.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always, when I talk to people now, I tell them, you have to be patient. Kind of feel like kind of that religious kind of talk, huh? You
Yeah.
have to
Right.
be patient. You have to buy into what you're doing, and you're gonna have to learn to communicate effectively. Because guess what? If you're having to answer to somebody and they're spending money, C-suites and all of that care about one thing, and that's that. What am I getting? What are my key performance indicators?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to be able to relay each milestone, each phase of what you're doing to them in a very understandable format. High level, nice executive summaries, things like that. So being patient, being um, not thinking you're a 100-meter sprinter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Everybody
marathon.
can't do that. Yep, everybody can't do that.
True, and one should not really expect the things that you've been able to accomplish for a decade that they're going to do it in 1 year, right? I mean, with the advancement of technologies, yeah, maybe you can do it faster these days because a lot of things have advanced, but yeah, you can't. It's like everything else. You never get away from the hard work, right? The hard work that's put into it, the care, the diligence. Those are the important pieces. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation, Robert. Man, I appreciate you coming by. As always, I just love to talk with you. Some key things I heard for our audience, is working on that strategy part, understanding what assets you really need to track and what information about those assets and what sensor data you really need in your digital twin. And, that all important decision, build or buy, like how much are you going to do in-house? I do feel like there's a lot of people that are kind of a little bit late to the bandwagon for AI, but they have the sense like, oh, we can just have AI do all this. Hopefully we've dispelled that myth for everybody. It will take a lot of training. It'll take a lot of iterations, even using AI as an assistant. It may be faster with them as an assistant, but they're still in AI still would be in an assistant role. Like you still have to be the gatekeeper of that information you're responsible for. Still have to check it all. And all the pieces. This is another thing I've heard, and I've said it many times, but I'm hearing it in our discussion, Robert. It's like there's no easy button. There's no like simple quick fix, right? Even with buy solutions versus build solutions, there's still a lot of things to work through. There's still a lot of questions to answer. Get your strategy right. Not necessarily comprehensive, but 80% there. And get started and be patient. I think that's fantastic advice. Man, you were quite a character. It's always great to see you. I appreciate you coming by here. Hey, tell our audience you got some podcasts going. You mentioned something about a football podcast, right?
I got some of my buddies back from the Friday Night Lights who were, they've made movies and Hollywooded things up. I'm like, okay, that's not how that happened.
Okay.
We get together every now and then, and we record. We did one. I need to throw some more up. But yeah, man. As you know, diving into podcasts is not easy work. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
easy
a
work.
labor of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, Johnny, to the audience, sometimes people hear me speak and they think, man, that's tough. Don't let that sway you from something that can happen. You just have to work at it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I don't have fear of technology. There's gonna be some failure in there. You can't have fear of failure. Dive on in and go. But just understand there's gonna be some gut punches. Take them, take them. You know, we did take a little bit to heal, but it's a very fun and exciting technology that when you see some of the results from it and that fruit of the labor, it's not a bad eye. It's not bad eyes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's sometimes you just need to grab the shovel and dig, right? Like if the task is digging a ditch, you don't like sit around and talk about it and think about it, and you just like it's time to get started on it. So, absolutely. I really appreciate the wisdom that you shared with us, the insight. It's always great to see you, Robert. I hope you've had an opportunity a couple times to present together. I hope we have that opportunity in the future. Man, really appreciate you. I'm gonna blast this all over LinkedIn. So
See, you see how you do me. See, y'all see what I'm saying? He takes where I try to be like, hey, I'm just old country boy Robert. He don't let that happen. You just reel it on out.
yeah, man, don't buy it. To my friends listening and watching, don't buy it. Man, so much experience, so much insight. Robert, thank you so much for stopping by today. To our audience, really appreciate you tuning in. Again, like and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or our YouTube page. We'd love to get some feedback on these episodes. So when we share this on LinkedIn, feel free to drop a line on a comment section on one of the podcasts or the YouTube channel. Check us out for great content, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to AECO Tech Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you get your podcast. We'd once again like to thank our sponsor, AECO Digitech, expert consultation for digital transformation. For more content, including video versions of our interviews and other exclusive material, check out our YouTube channel. Just search for AECO Tech Talk.